We kick off the college football season on Nittany Game Week. Penn State is unranked and upset. It's time to let their game do the talking.
I'm going to take a more measured approach there and let them and let us prove that to you.
First up, primetime road game at Purdue. Our coaches Jay Paterno and Tom Bradley give us a Boilermakers breakdown. The Impact interview is three-time national championship coach Urban Meyer, who has a healthy respect for the Penn State student body.
The student body at Penn State is it's insanity.
Add Franco Harris singing My Girl on the Happy Valley Cruise. And it's a legendary start to the season for Nittany Game Week. Well, we like to say back by popular demand. We'll just go with we're back. Great to have you with us here on Nittany Game Week. I'm Todd Sadowski, along with former Nittany Lions coaches Jay Paterno and Tom Bradley. Jay talks offense. Tom's in charge of our defense. And I know you guys can't wait to get the new season started.
It's here. There's nothing you can do about it. Now, I'm going to say Saturday, I know, 5 times in this show. It's a Thursday game. I know that, but we'll see. The over-under is 4.5. I'm going to take the over.
You know what's great? They're going up there. There'll be some juice in the stands. Usually at Purdue, there's not early in the stands, and they have a guy like Drew Brees. You're like, oh, my goodness. But then it gets exciting. But, hey, they got the blackout for this one.
Yeah. And that sounds a lot like what you said last year because they started at Wisconsin. You're a road guy. You like to be on the road. Now,
I like going on the road.
Yeah. Now, and look, you guys have had years where you're ranked in the preseason top 5 and years not nearly that high. What's the significance and the reaction for a team to be unranked going into a year?
Well, in 2005, we had a chip on our shoulders. The kids were really offended that people thought we were going to be one of the worst teams in the Big Ten, and that became kind of a mantra that the leadership took, and then obviously it paid off. We ended up 3rd in the country.
And that's what happens. Those guys come back, they're mad. And they're like, okay, that's what you think of us? It gives you a chance to go prove it.
That's right. Happened in 2016 was the last time for these guys. They won the Big Ten and went on to the Rose Bowl. We discussed all 3 phases of the team in our opening drive. All right, 6-year quarterback with Sean Clifford, youthful enthusiasm, fresh legs from a pair of highly recruited running backs with Nick Singleton and Katron Allen. Transfer wideout Mitchell Tinsley added to some productive returning players at wide receiver. But, Jay, the offense relies on better play from the offensive line.
Without question. I mean, this team last year had trouble running the ball, 113th nationally, 94th nationally in sacks allowed. If you can't protect the quarterback and you can't run the football, you're going to have a hard time. So I think that's where the focus has got to be on, because we know Clifford, we know they got good wideouts, we know there's some running backs that people think highly, but you got to open holes for them.
Well, one of the things, too, that it comes up is all the time when things get bad, especially defensively, if they can run the ball and you're standing there just watching, it's good for the defense.
Yeah, and Coach has said the offensive line is coming around, but this year he said, wait and see.
On offense, it's been the offensive line, for a couple of years. So, again, I'm not going to sit here and pound the table about this is the year, because that hasn't necessarily played out the way the last couple of years. So, I'm gonna take a more measured approach there and let them and let us prove that to you.
And at this point, it has to be look what we do and not what we say for Coach Troutwine and his group. All right, guys, let's switch to the defense.
Well, the offense has been used to turnover at the coordinator position. This year, it's the defense learning a new system. Tom, how difficult is it to really go in there and implement a new system? And what's the learning curve like?
Well, it's going to be dependent on what type of language they use. Are they using past language or Manny's language? So they'll tie it together early enough that they'll understand. And the communication is just going to be the big thing. The other stuff is they're just going to say, oh, this is a lot like that. And then just how we did certain things and how they did it, and they'll come to a conclusion. It'll be a good one.
Yeah, the learning curve can be steep, guys. Whoever's ready, no matter their experience, they're going to be on the field for Coach Diaz.
Transition is kind of smooth, but it's kind of rough at the start, just learning, the style of play and the different families of the defenses, too, because that kind of confused the guy. But it's coming along well with everybody. I think everybody's coming along. They're picking the pace up.
Depth chart is ever evolving. The development never ends. And it's always about when, I always say, when do they have that matrix moment? Like when Neo stops seeing the bullets and starts seeing the ones and zeros. And when that game starts to slow down.
Hey, here's a guy that sees the game well. Former Nittany Lions linebacker Dan Connor, an assistant helping out with the LBs. Tom, Dan Connor, that's always a big plus to have.
You might like
on the
him
field.
playing
Even if he's not playing. It's always.
It would be better if he's playing than coaching.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, so we are going to talk all three phases of the game, and special teams makes a huge, huge impact. They have some key personnel to replace this season.
And probably none more key than Jordan Stout. I mean, that no kickoff returns, great net punting. Tom, you know how important those yards are.
That is important, and I want to say this. I know a lot of them touchbacks, but one of the things you can do is that you can now put that ball sometimes in play and get some hidden yards. They're not expecting you put it in play deliberately and cover it. Here's 5 yards, here's 6 yards. At the end of the day, it all adds up.
Yeah. No gunners. I mean, where they have gunners, you got to replace the gunners, place kicker, the whole deal. A lot to replace there on special teams. Let's go to the scrap metal. Look, off-season leadership, tremendously important. We got 2 guys who come back to Happy Valley to earn your scrap medal for their commitment to the program and to themselves to get better before moving on to the next level.
Well, I'm a defensive guy. I'm going with 2 defensive guys. You knew that was coming.
Here's a shock. Yeah.
Jair Brown, P.J. Mustafer, scrap metal players of the week.
Yeah, well, they deserve it. Both guys are named captains. Both were in Indianapolis to represent Penn State at the Big Ten Football Media Days.
This moment is so special to me, being able to be doing this, coming from where I come from, it's a blessing, and I'm very appreciative of being here, and I'm just going to keep letting it all soak in.
That P.J. Mustafer was picked to represent the team for the second time at Big Ten Media Days. Still to come, our scouting report, another Big Ten primetime contest to start off the year on the road. Our coaches give you a Boilermakers breakdown when we return.
Scrap Metal is sponsored by the We Are In, voted #1 game day restaurant in Centre County. Follow us on Facebook and visit thewearein.com or call for dinner or room reservations.
We are back on Nittany Game Week. Same kind of start to the year, a Big Ten road game, different kind of setup. This one is on a Thursday night, prime time at Purdue. And Purdue's dangerous, especially in their own house. Let's send it to Coach Paterno and Coach Bradley for a Boilermakers breakdown, which happens, Jay, on a Thursday night.
Thursday night. Look at this, year 2, big screen. We got all kinds of fun going on. So let's get right into Purdue right now. And let's start out with Purdue. Had some problems protecting the quarterback, but when you get to him, you got to get him down because this guy can extend plays. And let's take a look at the video how he does that. They get the pressure. They got him. Looks like it's going to be a sack and a field goal attempt. Gets out of it. Next thing you know, you got a touchdown. Let's talk about what Purdue does then to adjust to that. What they're going to do is they're going to move the pocket, Tom. I know when you guys want to know where he is, but they move the pocket. Talk a little about how they do that.
They're doing that to buy some time to help their offensive line play action fake versus quarter coverage. They're going to take right here. You get the safety's going to bite on this, go up over the top.
Let's take a look at that on the tape. And again, this wideout is back. He was the MVP of the bowl game for him. 7 catches, 217 yards. A big one-on-one problem for a lot of people. So watch to see how Penn State handles him in the one-on-one situations. Now let's talk about what else they do to help themselves in the pass pro. Quick passes, they spread you out, and the ball's going to get out in a hurry, Tom. And I know that's frustrating when the pass rush, when the ball's out so fast.
Well, it's great. They spread them out. They know exactly what they have. We got a 4-man rush. Everybody else is back off the ball. He'll be able to see this better now and take his shot wherever he wants to go.
And they roll to a 3 and they get the seam. So let's take a look at the seam.
Like you said, 3 deep, Jay.
And watch how quickly this ball's out. The ball snapped, you're talking 1,001, 1,002. Less than 2 seconds, ball's out, and away they go. Now, let's talk about Purdue's base defense. 2 safeties high, Tom, which gives them some problems against the run. That was a real problem for them last year. Again, 5 guys here, 5 guys to block, and have some trouble north and south, Tom. Again, up the field, they get guys moved, they create some holes, and now the safety's got to make that tackle. That's a problem for them.
Exactly. One-on-one, open field, good back, good luck.
Now, when you have trouble with the run, Now you got to create some rundown blitzes, and when you get the rundown blitzes, you want to throw the ball, right, Tom?
You sure do.
Because then you get the matchups that you don't like, Tom, right?
No, I don't. But I know they're running a smoke game here. It's zero coverage in the secondary. It's straight man-to-man. And that's kind of a neutral blitz, run-pass blitz. So it's not like you're overloading one side. Guess what? You better get home.
And that safety is covering a slot. And if safeties could cover, they would be corners. Let's take a look at how that works for Tennessee here. They get the slot on that safety. And now they're lucky because they get a penalty. It's only a pass interference rather than a big play splitting them. Let's go to the next thing. Again, tempo is a problem for them. They don't get lined up. You can see all these guys when we go to the video. They're not lined up. They have one DB at the top of the screen against two guys. Again, there you go. You got one guy out there. They block him with the wide out, and now you got to walk in.
Not a good thing, especially if you're standing by the head coach on the sideline.
Yes. Now, let's take a look at some things with Penn State, because I know people want to talk a little bit about some things there. New running backs. Again, everybody likes the running backs carrying the ball, but they got to know what they're doing. There can be no confusion. Here you have 6 guys to block 5 from Michigan, and they can't do it because they're not on the same page. Take a look at the video on this one. Again, the running back's blocking no one. The guard and tag center are blocking one guy, and here comes the linebacker. Last thing, Tom, let's talk about the upfront push in the run game last year.
Boy, I tell you what, that's the thing. If you don't have that, that's going to be a long afternoon for you. You've got to get pushed. You've got to get these guys back, because if you're catching, these guys end up in linebackers' laps.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the video and watch how that offensive line moves the defensive line backwards. They catch the linebacker. Next thing you know, your safety's got to make tackles. If the safeties are making a lot of tackles on Saturday, going to be a problem. But I don't foresee that. I think Penn State's going to have a big night on Thursday, Todd, on Thursday.
Right, correct it yourself. Very well done. All right, well, it should be a good one, definitely. And a little extra juice in West Lafayette on Thursday night. Once again, the Nittany Lions season opener will air on Fox Sports, just like it did last year. We caught up with their lead game analyst, Joel Klatt, at the Big Ten Media Days. He's ready to see how the 2022 Nittany Lions bounce back from their poor finish in 21.
I love doing Penn State games. You know, they played so well before Sean got injured against Iowa. And always love dealing with Coach Franklin and his staff. And I'm really excited to see how this transition away from Brent Pry is going to go, you know, with Manny Diaz. I think that Brent has been one of the most respected defensive coordinators in the Big Ten for a long time. And rightly so. Their defense was, and in particular last year, was really the hallmark of their team and what kept them competitive. So I'm interested to see how that comes to fruition and how that change is going to go.
Penn State at Purdue airs on Fox. Nittany Lions are about a field goal favorite on the road. When we come back, our impact interview with head coach Urban Meyer will be back on Nittany Game Week after this. Well, welcome back. Time for our impact interview. And why not start the year with one of the most successful coaches in college football history? Every stop along the way, all he does is win games. Over 85% of them over 17 years at Bowling Green, Utah, Florida, and unfortunately at Ohio State. Hey, welcome to 3-time national championship head coach Urban Meyer. Urban, thanks for joining us. We appreciate the time.
Oh, it's great to be with you guys.
Hey, look, you're back with Fox Sports, and that's a fun group for sure. You have some USC guys, and I bet they didn't think they'd ever see the day they were in the Big Ten. But we want to know what it's like working with that group specifically. But this is our impact interview. So tell us what impact you like to make in that position as you keep tabs on the entire college football world.
Well, Fox came to me after my last year at Ohio State, and they said we want to really make a dent in the market and do the studio show or do a pregame show. And I've always loved Fox. And the thing that really hit me as the president, Eric Shanks, said Fox is all about celebrating this great game. And I'm into that too. I know Jay and Coach Bradley are as well, that this is a great game. And when you focus on the greatness of the game, the greatness of the players and the positivity of it, and that's what Fox does. And then you throw Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, Brady Quinn, and Rob Stone. Those are like family to me now. I love those guys. We have a great time together. They are so relevant in the game of football. Reggie Bush, arguably the greatest. When you watch his videotape, arguably the greatest player ever played the game of college football. You have Matt and Brady that are basically coaches on the field when they play quarterback, and Rob Stone's our point guard. So I love those guys.
Urban, your career as a head coach at a number of schools was really exceptional. My dad and I used to joke about what we'd like to be on the first line of our obituary, but without getting morbid, because you're still young, if you could put only one thing on your resume, would it be the national titles or the perfect record versus the team up north or something else?
Oh boy, that's a tough one.
That's how deep it runs with the team up north.
As much as I love your father, I could see him asking that question. And I could see that it might be 7-0 against that team up north. I mean, I grew up in the Woody Hayes, Bo Schembechler 10-year war. And first of all, the respect I have for our rival, the Wolverines, is immense. You know, people think that there's, I didn't say but the respect is incredible. I mean, that's a great place with great players, great coaches. And that's why every year you better strap that bad boy up, because it's, when I hear people talk about, well, it's one-sided, you better be careful, because they're very good. So that would be it.
Coach, one of the most underrated aspects of a team is the inside leadership that really takes good teams to a championship level. For younger players watching, can you talk a little bit about what gave you that edge to the great leaders you coached?
Yeah, the term is unselfish. And I'm telling you guys, I don't know if it's ever been harder. As our careers moved along, it became a little more difficult, but it's very hard right now. And the team, in my mind, sure, there's probably 5, 6, 7 teams right now that probably separate themselves with talent a little bit. But the team that is going to find a way to do the unselfish thing. Football is a dirty, nasty sport. You have to run down on kickoff. On kickoff return, you got to turn and flip your hips at 30 yards and take on a guy running 20 miles an hour. Nose guard or a 3 technique's got to take on 650 pounds of mass trying to knock you off the ball. It's a tough sport. A receiver that's thought he's going to get NIL money and he's going to go catch 1,000 yards of receptions, got to go block for the option play for the running back. The team that's unselfish will win. And I think some of the great teams that you guys have been around and I've been around, sure, talent is obviously a premium, but selflessness, that's a beautiful game. That's a beautiful thing about football. You can't clear out like other sports and the one guy shoot a 3-point shot. Can't do that. There's no 3-point shots in football. All 11 have to participate, or you can't gain a yard on offense. You certainly can't stop them on defense. Selflessness is the key.
So, Coach, in 2020, no whiteout game with Ohio State because of COVID at Beaver Stadium. Later this fall, Minnesota gets the honor the week before the Buckeyes. So I get the feeling Coach stays just fine with that. And while you were mostly successful in those games, what made it so challenging and tough for a visiting team?
Oh, it took over our last time playing it. I told Shelley and I told the media, I said, this overtook LSU. Was the hardest place to play. The student body at Penn State is it's insanity. The fans are terrific. They don't like myself. They don't like the Buckeyes. That was made very clear to us as we entered the field. My gosh, was that place? When I saw that pop up that Ryan Day does not have to take the Buckeyes in Happy Valley at Whiteout, to me that's at least a 7 to 10 point difference. That crowd that night. That's the most difficult crowd in college football.
So shifting gears a little bit, Ole Miss coach Lane Kiffin recently said that name, image, likeness, NIL should stand for now it's legal. As you look at the world of NIL, what challenges do you see for coaches trying to build teams and team cohesion while many of their players are also working on individual financial deals?
I just have great respect for the coaches and the leaders, because first of all, you got to be so careful how you recruit and who you recruit, and to keep a locker room together. I'm really studying the Big Ten, getting ready for this game, and Michigan State has done a really masterful job with this transfer portal. But I'm just wondering, how do you keep it together where you're bringing all this fluidity of players? When do you teach and develop a culture? Same thing with name and likeness. You have. If that's the number one sale pitch that you have in recruiting, or if that's the expectation, I just don't know how you keep that locker room where you have a right tackle that thinks he should be making this, or a backup tailback that, doesn't get his carries. Therefore, his family thinks he's going to lose out on the NIL money. I just think it's very difficult. I'm not saying it's wrong. I think when you see these television contracts come around, you see the coaches' salaries come around, certainly there should be. The players are the ones doing the work. But just the regulation and how you manage a locker room, I don't have the answer to that, Jake. I don't know. I'm not sure many people do have the answer for that.
Urban's going to hang with us for a minute. We're going to step aside for the TV show to take a break. We will continue our interview with Coach Meyer. So if you want to see the entire conversation, make sure to go to NittanyGameWeek.com for the entire interview, along with other web-exclusive content. And when we come back, do not adjust your screen. This is NFL Hall of Famer and former Penn State running back Franco Harris singing in Bermuda. And he has some backup help from other Lions legends, how you can sail with them on the Happy Valley Cruise when we come back. We're heading into the final minutes on Nittany Game Week. Well, there's video you don't see every day. Franco Harris leads a group of Nittany Lions legends in My Girl. And here's one of our guys enjoying his excursion to Tobacco Bay in Bermuda. Look at Jay work the kayak. He is an expert, Tom.
You know what? Those guys definitely shouldn't give up their day job. That was bad.
No, but
Jay,
look
you
at
look
the
good on the kayak,
athleticism of the kayak. That's impressive.
Yeah, that was impressive.
You didn't get lost, that's for sure. Back to Bermuda we go in June. Plenty of Nittany Lions legends and some current athletes as well. We'll have details soon about a cabin giveaway right here on Nittany Game Week. So stay tuned each week and online, happyvalleycruise.com. And don't miss our depth chart at NittanyGameWeek.com, which includes these local businesses. Our goal is to build a team in the community that supports the show and that you in turn support as a viewer. It's going to keep the hometowns strong. And if you haven't noticed yet, we have a lot to share with you when it comes to college football, and it doesn't all fit into a nice, tidy 30-minute window. Some really good stuff there. Spend some time on the site to see what we're up to on the show. So, with no tailgating yet, we do have some pride picks from the cruise to finish up. Next year we'll have pride picks of Tom out there.
That's right.
It'll be a lot of fun.
Maybe on the golf course.
Maybe. We'll see. We will see. Or on a kayak with Jay.
Hopefully not in the ocean.
For Jay and Tom, I'm Todd. Thanks so much for watching Nittany Game Week. We'll see you next time.